Si Hill, thank you very much for joining us each side here.
Hi, Tom.
Just remind everybody what your role is in the UKU.
Okay, I'm CEO of UK Ultimate and have been for a couple of years now, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. And you came back from, you've been out in Italy last 2 weeks ago?
Yes, when at World Clubs I was out there playing in the Masters team. I wasn't actually working very much at World Clubs.
Just having a fun time with Zimmer.
Was just enjoying myself with my friends and family, and which was great fun. But 2 weeks before, I was also out there on behalf of Wooftop at Junior Worlds at the same location. So that was, it was a busy couple of weeks. It was great.
And how did the Masters teams? We had Zimmer, and in the women's Masters we also had Robots.
Yeah.
Do we have any other teams out in those divisions?
Bath were playing in the Open Masters division as well.
Okay, and how did your guys fare?
I guess it's fair to say, I think the women's team ended up, I think, 5th or 6th in their round robin. I can't remember exactly. Bath lost in a pre-quarter, and we blew it in our quarter-final. So all in all, pretty disappointing.
Okay. But let's talk about the good points about Italy. We've seen a UK club team, after many years of slightly underachieving international competition, a UK team finally achieve what we all knew that they could in Clapham. Just talk about your feelings personally as an ex-Clapham player in watching some of their performances over the last couple of weeks.
Well, they're going well, aren't they? And they really upped the way they train. So they've just really clamped down on making sure everyone's at every training session. The quality of what the work they're doing at those training sessions is up. So they've really worked hard on making sure that every time they're together, they've got a clear aim, and those aims fit into a plan for the year, or actually probably for 2 years. And I think that's been a big part of pulling everyone together to make what's become quite a strong, an increasingly strong machine. And they've made sure they went out to the US Open and done those things as well, and all those things count, I was very excited. My kids thought I was going to absolutely lose my head at 16 all against Revolver. So it was a moment of, I was very excited, and then absolutely destroyed. Utterly destroyed her. And my voice, I can hear my voice shaking as we talk about it. Let's move on.
Okay. But they went on to take 5th place, beating Buzz Bullets.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, they beat Buzz Bullets by, I think, and Brittany was just telling me their offense, he thinks the offense didn't get scored on in that game. I mean, wow. And, we played Buzz in 2010 as Clapham, and they killed us. Yeah. They just killed us. And to have come so far, and to have won that game in strongly was great. But as I say, I was there sort of playing, and so I didn't get to see quite as much as I might have hoped for. But I saw the last half hour against Revolver.
And you mentioned you're out at the junior championships. Just talk about the UK junior scene. Myself and Sarah and Jen have just been chatting about the women's junior scene and how that might help feed into some of these club sides. How are we doing at the junior level? Because was it under 17 and under 20? Yeah.
So there were 4 divisions at that tournament. Our 2 junior teams probably didn't do quite as well as they would have hoped, and they could have done actually. In fact, the Open team in particular had a fantastic start, and they looked really great in their pool play, and then just had a really tough pre-quarter against Israel, and couldn't make it through that. And then obviously, I think. Obviously at that point they're out of the top 8, but they were looking great, and they had some great moments. The women's team also had a great start actually. And then obviously the under-17 Open team won the gold, did really well. It's really tough finals day actually. It poured with rain. The teams playing in those finals were really struggling with really tough conditions actually.
Yeah.
So coming on, and there are more people, more young players trying out for those teams every year. The sort of systems that we use are getting. I think we're still honestly putting more effort into running them well and running them safely and worrying about those things than lots and lots of are those players getting huge, deep, in-depth tactical exposure, if you like. That's not sort of top of the list right now. It is still making sure it's all run really well and that people are enjoying themselves and learning about Ultimate and learning about, you know, about what it is to play for Great Britain and, you know, at those competitions. But so that's coming on, and we can see, we can see a big wave coming in schools, but it's just not, you know, it's just not quite hitting our community yet. So there really are hundreds of schools playing Ultimate, hundreds and hundreds, but they're not playing each other yet, and so we're not seeing them coming through into GB trials or into junior competitions or things like that. But they're there, and you know, one of the things we want to try and do over the next couple of years is sort of tell that story to our existing clubs and encourage people to just find out a little bit about what's going on in their neighbourhood and seeing if they can help their local school teachers and their local schools find out a bit more about Ultimate and take it. All they've got to do is play their next door school, really. That's the place we want to get them to, you know. But there really are, there's a lot playing. We just haven't quite got them over that last step yet.
Okay. Exciting next couple of years ahead. We've got Europeans and then World for the GB squads.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's going to be a lot of work for you guys organising all of that.
Yeah.
There was talk, I've heard a little bit on the sidelines here, that the current Clapham outfit are probably better than any GB squad that we've ever put out. And perhaps we ought to consider, and I'm not saying I necessarily agree with this, changing the way we build the UK squad to follow the American and Canadian side of picking the top club side to represent the country. I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that. I realise I'm putting you on the spot quite a lot.
I mean, one immediate thing I'd say is I think we may see the US not operating that model for much longer, actually.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people assume that because the US do it, it must be the best thing to do. And actually, I think the US folks are starting to think they might do it differently. I don't know for sure, but that's the impression I get. You know, maybe that's just their alternative version of this rumor. I guess the other thing I mean, look, the current Clapham team is clearly very, very strong, and they're doing really well. And if that current team were to play the strongest GB team we've had in the last 10 years, you know, I guess they'd be stronger. Look like they would be. But these things go in cycles, and I think just throwing away, you know, the model that we have just because right now it happens to look slightly better to do it that way, I think I'm not really bought into that. I guess that the next GB team will have quite a lot of Clapham players in it. I imagine, looking at the way the teams are right now. I don't think it necessarily follows that Clapham should be GB. You know, I'm not. I have just, you know, spent 30 minutes discussing that sort of thing with Mark Gilbert, but yeah, I'm not convinced that's the right step to take. It's not only up to me, of course, so that's why I'm hesitating to just say, you know, it's not just down to me, but I'm not convinced that's the right thing to do. I do think that that's a very strong team right now. I would say, I suppose my other point, if I can keep going on about it,
yeah, carry on,
is I think there have been other times in the last 20 years when you could have picked the top team in London and said they're probably stronger than the GB team. And I think had we made the decision to make that switch then, as you might think now, I don't think Clapham would be where they are now. If in 1996 or 7 Shotgun had been given ownership of the GB team, we wouldn't have won all these European things that we've won in the last, you know, few years. I really believe that, really strongly. Yeah. I've been a player in a bunch of those teams and been on that journey with those groups, and I just don't think we'd be there. And so I think we have because we have a small country, we have this opportunity to keep mixing the players back up. And I think, you know, it's something we should take advantage of.
So actually the UK scene as a whole benefits when the experience that Clapham have had at Worlds gets mixed in with all the top players from the other club sides.
Hugely, and vice versa. Clapham has also learned things from those other teams at different points in the last 15 years. Right now, Clapham is ahead. And I guess that what will happen in the next couple of years in the Open team in particular is that a bunch of players will come together, and many of them will be from Clapham, and people who are not from Clapham will learn a load of things that those guys have been taking advantage of in the last couple of years. But I don't think it necessarily follows that means we should just give ownership of our national teams to an individual club.
Si, thank you very much for giving such a full and frank answer, and I'm sure we'll talk much more about that amongst the UKU board members. And
can I make a quick plug that people come to our or at least kind of keep an eye on our development conference on the 13th of September, which is with our AGM. So we have an AGM, a development conference. There's a skills clinic being run by Brummy and Dom Clark, and in the evening we've got a special session for university clubs, sort of development related university things as well there. So and keep looking out for news. We have another couple of things that we're hoping to get players excited about coming up over the next year that I'm not able to talk about quite yet. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Si Hill.